inch.
All right, look at that. A lot of green arrows. That's banks, including General Electric, which is bank-driven from GE Capital. Look at that. Citi, B of A, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase. And then the other side, tech. Look at that tech. Intel, PowerShares, Cisco, Dell, Microsoft, all hot tamales today. We got some hot tamales on our investment panel. Bob Froelich, author of A Bull for All Seasons. Quentin Hardy of Forbes magazine, straight from the left coast where tech exists. And CNBC contributor and syndicated columnist Jerry Bowyer. Let me start with my friend Quentin. Quentin, it's great to see you. I want to ask you regarding the tech story. Now, Intel was a blowout. Now, whether that's because of the better China news or cost-cutting or profit margins, maybe you can inform us. But there's other stuff this week, right? We got Microsoft, we got Dell, we got IBM. Give me your pencil sketch here.
Well, you got pent-up demand because they were doing without. You know, there were so many quarters where orders were slow or lax. There's pent-up demand. You got the fall, back to school, business revives, maybe Christmas. You know, all that's now setting in place, and that's kicking in. And you got Intel, which is just a fearsome machine, crushing all of its suppliers as best it can to get those margins up. Margins were good at Intel, which was surprising. Those are all very favorable factors. And they don't have to depend on the financial sector as much as a lot of the rest of American business. And that helps a lot because the banks are still cheap.
Quentin, follow up. What do you expect? We got, I think, IBM, Microsoft. I think Dell's coming out this week. I may be wrong about Dell. But those are three big names. By the way, Cisco had a tremendous day today. I want to get you a quickie on Cisco. Cisco up 6%. Another chip maker, Altera, up 4%. Microsoft up 7%. And Advanced Micro up 9%. Now, these are big gains. Tech has been a breakout story all year, Quentin. Is it sustainable? And what do you think about the rest of the earnings reports this week?
I think Cisco is just a legendary story, and I'm not shy about saying it. They have, you know, you can't call it monopoly share, but it really is big, and they grow into new areas and innovate. It's a hell of a combination. Microsoft, they have really big share. They try and innovate strong. Dell looks a lot like a one-trick pony, doesn't it? Hell of a supply chain. They got it right. Everybody else learned how to do that. They don't innovate the same way the other guys do.
I think their hardware is very subprime. We use it in the newsroom. I tell you, I'm so down on Dell. Maybe I shouldn't be.
It's cheap. What else can you say?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert, and if the Dell people criticize me, I'll stand corrected. But Bob Froelich, it's been too long to see you. Bob Froelich, I am spinning at my very Kudlowian best here. I've come up with this sort of free market, capitalistic, it's really an Austrian, Hayekian point of view. That sometimes, Robert, you want to bash me on this, fine. I don't see the top-line revenues. I don't see the top-line economy, to tell you the truth. I think if we get a recovery in the second half of the year, it'll be barely noticeable, if at all. But all the bad economic news from cost-cutting, job-cutting, hours work-cutting, inventory cutting is actually slashed business costs so much that they're turning more profitable. What do you make of this argument? Is it spin, or do I have any content at all?
Oh, no, it's spot on. There's no spin about it. Larry, listen, this is the 3 E's of investing, and investors have to focus on this. The first thing that recovers is earnings. Then the economy recovers. Then employment is going to recover. We shouldn't worry about anything. Keep a focus on these companies. They're doing a great job. We're seeing an earnings recovery now. Once that happens, they'll start spending money. Then the economy recovers. And after the economy recovers, the final thing that's going to recover is employment. So stop worrying about the Fed today saying we're going to see 10% unemployment. That's old news. Focus on the 3 E's. Watch earnings, then the economy, then employment. I think we're in for a great second half of the year.
That's a very interesting paradigm. Earnings, economy, by which I think you mean GDP, which could show some positiveness in Q3 anyway, maybe Q4. Who knows? Maybe
With the
Q2.
Inventory build up.
All right.
Yeah.
Earnings, economy, jobs. Jerry Bowyer, take it from there because, Jerry, I got to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
In the key indicators, you're not going to get a real recovery in this country unless we are creating jobs. I don't mean shrinking them at a slower pace. I mean create them like we did in the 80s and the 90s. And I want to see some rising industrial production, not just a little bounce back in autos. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the incomes here, Jerry. What do you agree with Dr. Bob? Earnings, economy, jobs, and we have nothing to worry about?
It was earnings, economy, employment. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I don't think we're going to get much employment. I think that the political environment is the most hostile to employment that I've seen in my lifetime. The same thing happened sort of on a smaller scale in 1993 when Clinton was talking about nationalizing health care, and all the small business people kind of held their breath for a year until that idea was discarded. Now it's happening on even more of a grand scale. The stimulus plan has a number of anti-employment provisions in it. They're talking about funding health care with a surcharge on businesses that don't pay health care or don't pay the minimum government level of health care. All of this says to small business people, don't hire. I mean, I'd give the same advice, and I'd hate to. But right now, the best thing to do for small businesses, do not hire.
It's too
but I think we can grow with productivity.
It's too threatening to hire.
That's right.
So they're doing it internally, the old-fashioned way, by slamming down costs. Now, Jerry, I think
and buying computers.
I think this spending and borrowing is just pulling the vitality and the morale out of the free enterprise private sector. I think at the end of the day, it's done more harm than good, and the failure to cut tax rates across the board, which would have ignited some animal spirits, the biggest mistake. But what happens, Jerry, is there going to be a recovery? Because I'm taking a cautious view. When I looked at those jobs figures 2 weeks ago, I said, wait just a minute. I'm taking a very cautious view, and I want to get your view.